Jason. Today's episode of the Lee's Summit Town Hall podcast is brought to the good people by Budget Blinds of Lee's Summit.
Budget Blinds!
Did you know?
Did I?
Budget Blinds is your home for those signature series shades.
I do know that we need to all hail our robot shade overlords.
Take a bow. Show your respect.
Show your respect. You can now get, by the way, your signature series shades from our good friends at Budget Blinds, not only in Lee's Summit, but in the city of Overland Park, Kansas. Should you choose, either by choice or not choice, to be in the state of Kansas, you can now go to a second location and get the same customer service from the same bunch of good eggs that have served you so long and so well here in downtown Lee's Summit.
So what you're saying is our overlords are expanding their empire.
It is, but more are hailing, as they should, our robot shade overlords.
So look, if you are ready to turn your home into a smart home, go visit our friends at Budget Blinds of Lee's Summit, right in the heart of downtown, or
somewhere in Overland Park.
Somewhere in Overland Park. But you know what you have to do? Tell them Jason Dick sent you.
Hello again, and welcome to Lee's Summit Town Hall, a weekly podcast about what you can do to make a difference. I am Jason Norbury, and as always, I am joined by a man who is now the parent of a high schooler. It is our friend, the publisher of Link to Lee's Summit, Nick Parker.
Is a mix of pride and fear the right thing?
Yeah, I think existential terror is also acceptable in terms of like.
Well, I was trying not to admit that much,
well,
but yeah,
fair.
we're at terror.
Look, I have two high schoolers now, so it's actually no. I'm sorry, I have a high schooler and a college student now, so I don't even want to hear it from you. I don't want to hear it from you. Link to Lee's Summit, the source for all the news you need about our very fine city, and our unofficial sponsor today, and it's thematic. It's some fancy book learning. And because of that, look, we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about other stuff. We have an important guest, and we want to bring him on right now. It is Dr. David Buck, the superintendent of Lee's Summit R7 schools. Dr. Buck, how are you today?
Very good. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Look, we're not calling you in an emergency. Nothing's like on fire or freaking out or radical shifts of things. So everything's good. But we did want to talk a little bit about like what's going on and all that good stuff. So I'm going to turn over to Nick to ask the first question.
Yeah. He's going to give me the hard stuff. Mm-hmm. We don't want to cover this too much because I think most of the information out there, but I think it would be a good idea for just spend a few minutes. What's the school year going to look like? What really are kind of the protocols, everybody's safe return to the school? Let's just visit that a little bit. I know it's out there about that there is a mask mandate for the district, so everybody's going to be wearing their masks at least for the first quarter. So if you can kind of just review for us a little bit about what school in the still running COVID world is going to look like.
First of all, you're going to see a lot more kids in the building. So we started last year with 3,900 kids in an online version. This year, as of end of last week, we had 300. So less than 10% of what we had online last year will be online this year. So you'll be a lot more kids in the building. There is a mask requirement and mandate by the county as well for indoors, and on school buses is federal. So on school buses, that'll be probably all year long, I assume, because that's a federal guideline there. But as far as outside, there is no mask requirement. So when you go to a football game, there's currently no size of crowd requirements or anything like that, or a mask requirement. So kids go in recess, don't have to wear a mask. We recommend if you're unvaccinated that you consider it, just like the health department does and the county does and the CDC and AAP and such. But other than that, I think you're going to see school be school, and we're excited about that.
Are we still distancing kids in the classrooms?
As much as possible. So what we found last year, especially the first semester, we really looked at it hard following our cases. We had about 600 positive cases over the first semester, and less than 5% or around 5% were doing contact tracing a potential spread at school. And what we're finding is those don't tend to happen because you're 2 feet or 4 feet or 6 feet. So there's special situations they tend to happen in. So we're going to distance as much as possible, but we can't guarantee they're always going to be 6 feet apart from somebody.
And I think the other big difference is the quarantining based on exposure rules. Those are going to be different this year.
Yes, that's a huge benefit. So mid-November, we ended up with over 1,000 people either with a positive case or quarantined. And that's when we just the board had made a decision after Thanksgiving to move to virtual, because we had subfill rates up until November over 90%, which many districts around us are very jealous of. But November, it dropped down in the 60% range because we just had so many people quarantined. Well, now, if you're both masked as kids, you're both masked, you do not have to quarantine if you're a close exposure and you don't show any symptoms. So say one of you is a positive case and the other one's not, you're within 6 feet of each other for 15 minutes, but you both wear masks, the other one doesn't have to quarantine. That's also true for vaccination, which wasn't the case last November. So if one of you is vaccinated and are close contact, but you're not showing symptoms, you don't have to quarantine either. So those are two big changes for kids on the first side and adults on the second side. So we hope to have kids in school at a higher rate this year as well, and staff.
Well, I like the earlier statement. School's going to look like school.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm sure. I think like about 90% of the complaints that you got, we heard, and as we were paying attention, kind of just boiled down to that. It's like, this doesn't feel like school, and we don't like it. So, and which is fair. I mean, we have a system established, and we've kind of built around that. So I certainly understand that. Well, speaking of vaccinating students, is the district going to be offering or participating in vaccine clinics or vaccine opportunities for our eligible students? I guess hopefully more of our students will become eligible through the course of the semester as the FDA does their work. But are we going to have are there vaccine opportunities for people coming up?
So we just had one last week, and we don't have another one scheduled, but we have one last week over here on the North Campus on August 12th through the health department. We also held student vaccine clinics at each high school in the spring as well. So we'll continue to work with health departments as the need and the desire is there, and provide vaccines to those who want them.
Do you have any, I mean, I know that this isn't probably a question you probably poked around too much, but is there, do you have any rough idea on what of the eligible student population are vaccinated?
No, and I'll pull up real quick. I should have had already pulled up. The health department has some data on that, and I will pull that up super fast for you. But it's going to be countywide, not school district. By county, it'll be Eastern Jackson County, which excludes Kansas City. It also excludes Independence now.
Yeah.
So it's a little different. So I am literally pulling that up and trying to talk as my file.
That's some talent there.
It is. Well, you guys are probably better at filling that area. Than I am.
Let's not give ourselves that much credit.
What's interesting is that you can't get a vaccine until you're 12 years old, right? Currently,
right.
Their age groups are 10 to 14. So half that group cannot, or two grades or two ages out of that 5. So 40% of that group cannot be vaccinated. But initiated 22% of 10 to 14s and completed the series 15%. 15 to 19 is 48% in the county have had their first shot, and 37% have had both shots.
Okay, so that's not near high enough, but it is a start on that. And of course, it's hard to differentiate, like, how does Lee Summit in their representative sample compared to Oak Grove or Green Valley or any of those sorts of things. So
yeah, so there is, and I did well, I don't have that on here, but I did see a zip code, and there's some big differences in zip codes within the county. So
I'm sure
Jackson County has that as well.
Good. All right.
So one last thing on this: are you monitoring or getting, I guess, emails and notes about that data as regularly as you were last year? Are you paying as close attention?
So we meet weekly with all 3 health departments now. We do have a school in Kansas City, and on that call, since it's superintendents throughout the county, Independence is there as well. So we have a weekly call on Tuesdays with them. We also have a medical panel of local pediatricians that we meet on probably, I would say, on an irregular basis when things are needed. So we met with them a couple weeks ago and received their input. And then Kansas City Chamber has hosted a couple events now with hospitals, and you can find that video online now of the previous one, maybe 2 weeks ago, of their current situations of hospitals. So it is something we continue to monitor. Centerpoint Medical Center in Independence, I think the stat was last week they had 20 people in beds and hallways because they didn't have any other ER spots to put them. So they were literally in beds and hallways. So the hospital piece is something that's a little disturbing. We continue to monitor as well.
So you mentioned that there's a 90% drop in the online schooling option this year. Is that 300 more in line with what we've seen in the years before COVID, BC, I guess now, our new BC, or is it or is it bigger? Is it a little smaller? What do you have any idea what that is?
It's bigger. So about 240 of those kids are elementary kids. And then prior to last year, we didn't have an elementary only online option. So we created that on the fly last year. And we looked at trying to outsource that during the summer of 2020. We just couldn't find elementary online curriculum that was very good. And to the point that now we are offering it across the state to other districts. So we have kids as far away as Hazelwood School District who will also be taking our online courses because they're choosing online instead of in person. So we'll have online kids from across the state as well.
And it's probably too early for me to ask this, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's fun. Is this going to be a trend, do you think, though? I mean, is this kind of looking ahead? Are we going to see more people? I mean, maybe not even health related, but just choosing these online paths?
I think the vast majority of people will tell you that in person is definitely preferred, right? And their kids did better. If you ask parents, their kids did better in person. But we have had a few parents that said, you know what, my kid actually did better online, or my older kid was able to do some other things. We had a kid get their pilot license last year while they were online. So, I think it'll be an option for a small percent of folks that makes sense. Not just in a pandemic time, but just how they learn best and or fit into other experiences they're trying to work towards, or other certifications or internships.
All right, so we're going to transition away from the dreaded pandemic because, look, we're all tired of talking about that kind of thing. And we're going to go on to a subject that makes everybody happy, which is school boundary adjustments. And so how is the middle school boundary process coming along?
That group's been working since last spring. They're down to, I think, 2 different options, and there will be a survey going out the first week of September, and then we'll have 3 engagement opportunities for people to come in person. I think it's September 7th, 8th, and 9th, and you can find those dates and locations on our website. But I think it's going well. It's a large group. The parents are very excited that's been on the group, and the feedback has been very impressive so far in our earlier engagement series. We started off, I think, with over 45 different possibilities. All of the parameters around it is to not affect what high school feeder you're going into. So if you're, right now in Tiger High land, or you're in LSW or Lee Summit North pieces of boundaries, that doesn't change. It's all about taking 3 middle schools into 4 and 6th grade into the middle schools. And so there are a couple options people are looking at. We have 5 elementaries now that currently split into 2 different middle schools. So one of the 2 options that are still standing lowers that down to 1. So that's a conversation that some people may want to have or not. So there's just 2 options right now. And we're hoping to have, when we send out the survey, you can actually enter your address and see what middle school you will go to.
Well, that'd be nice.
That would be cool.
Well, can you give us just really quickly like a 30,000 foot update on construction for that new middle school?
Yeah, so I was just out there the other day, 2 days ago on Monday. It's going very well. The middle school was lucky in respect that we bid out that project, and also the project was bid out early enough they could purchase most things ahead of time. So they're on time with the facility. So we're in good shape for opening next fall. The 6th, 7th, and 8th grade wings are 2-story pieces, kind of on a campfire kind of concept with a center common area, rooms that have flexible walls that you can do some different things with. Each has their own outside area they can use as an outside classroom learning space. The gym and auxiliary gym are up. The auxiliary gym is a tornado shelter. Has about just shy of 1 million pounds of concrete on top. And then it's pretty impressive facility over there. So right now, the part you can see through is the entrance to the cafeteria and then the library. That's in steel girding, but everything else is enclosed, encapsulated. The softball, baseball complex is coming along. That's a little bit behind where we want, but still the entire project is under budget. Part of what we just bid out, and actually the board will approve tomorrow night, is that we do have to upgrade the sewer system off our property, because we'll obviously bring a lot more bodies to that area. So that project was estimated to be a little over $2 million. Well, since we're bidding out now with construction costs and material costs going up because of supply demands, and supply shortages. That actually came in at $3.4 million. But overall, the entire middle school projects is $1.3 million under budget. So we're pretty excited and proud of that. The high school renovations at Lee Summit High, that started last spring or last winter, and that's going well. We have the athletic complexes. We're racing to get all the bleachers done before the first opening games. We're hoping to get that done. We do have some back orders. That's going to be the story for every school and every construction site right now on our AV, our sound system equipment. And so we'll use our old sound system equipment till that comes in mid-season. Mason Elementary is fantastic. It looks to be done in December of this year, and so we'll be completely open then next semester. It is amazing how different that building feels and looks. Pretty exciting. We do have some furniture delays both at Mason and Lee Summit High for the new spaces opening up. They're opening up here next week. So we're thinking we're gonna get some of that furniture in October, November. So we are scrambling to use repurposed furniture until then.
It's all, and just put rugs in. Everybody sits in a circle. It's just like kindergarten for everybody. It'd be great.
And then Paradise Park, we were purchasing that for our second early childhood center. That should close next week, I think is what the date is. And so we have an aggressive timeline. That was supposed to be open in in the fall of 23. We think we have a chance to get that in FY 22 or next fall of 22. So we'll be design team this fall and hopefully go out to bid in the late winter and construction and renovation in there to build classrooms within inside of it. Paradise Park, if you think about on the left side, when you enter, that discovery area is mostly going to be unchanged. That's the exciting part of that because our current Great Beginnings utilizes that as well. So that's just a built-in benefit. So we'll be working through designs there pretty quickly. And then the external part is a value-added piece for us. And so we're bringing in people from National Board of Experiential Education. We're going to try to bring in the Kansas City Zoo. We're bringing in the YMCA at Camp Lakewood down in Potosi area. We're going to try to bring in people like Science City and talk about what kind of learning environments we can have for K-12 on the property. And so we're exploring that. We've already went through with our administrators and curriculum writers and such and started daydreaming a little bit on there. So that's kind of where we're at with the bond issue. We're overall over $20 million under budget still with everything that's encumbered and priced out.
That's got to be an exciting thing to look at the Paradise Park stuff and just let yourself and your teams just kind of brainstorm and let's come up with something new.
Exactly. So John, I can't thank John and Julie Ellis enough. Julie will hate that I mentioned her name twice there. They were wonderful. They had another buyer that was interested in paying a lot more, but they wanted to continue the early ed piece and are very big supporters of the school district. So they're appraised at $8.9 million, and that's not counting the amenities. And they sold it to the district for $6 million, and they're leaving a number of amenities there that were not included in that appraisal. So we can't thank them enough. And to have it right next to Underwood Elementary and Bernard Campbell Middle School, so you also have two schools right next door as well. So it's a fantastic opportunity for our kids this year and going forward.
So we just leave the mini golf for me to come play. That's really all I need.
It's all about Nick. So we should mention John and Julie Ellis again and again during the course of this, just to make sure that they are extra appreciated, even though they don't want the spotlight. I think that's fair. So,
well, let's. I want to move to a different topic, and this is one that you brought up the last time you were on the show, and it was just we were talking about new programming, new things that were happening and going to come in this school district. I know we just launched. There were some people came into town for it, but we just launched the new aviation program. Can you fill us in again a little bit on what that is, and then maybe what else do we have coming that's new?
Yeah, so the Aerospace Academy is pretty exciting. We just had the FFA administrator, Dixon. So that's the guy that runs the entire FAA. He used to be vice president of Delta. Come out, and at the end of it, he ended up staying about an hour and a half longer than he was supposed to. And he had another commitment he was supposed to go to, but he was going to go to it late because he was so into what we were doing. I asked him at the end, I said, listen, we are a lighthouse district in so many ways in the nation. We have there's over 2,000 Cisco networking programs. We're one of the top 5 in the nation. Project Lead the Way is well known throughout the nation for engineering, and we're one of the few training sites because we do such a good job. The FBI comes and recruits at our students because of our programming with Homeland Security partnership and what we're doing with cybersecurity. So we have some amazing things in our district that most districts could not touch. And so we want to make sure this is it. And he looked at me, he said, the day you open the door, you're going to be the number 1 in the nation at what you're doing. Nobody else knows what you guys are opening up. This is incredibly impressive. So we're very proud of that. We hope to continue to grow it. That doesn't mean we have everything figured out. We can't thank the city enough. They've been great partners. They're going to give us, try to work on giving us hangar space, continue forward. But as the airport expansion goes, dedicate some space for us to have a learning environment. So we're very excited. And again, thank you to Steve Arbo and Mayor Baird for always being good partners with us.
What are some other new programs and things coming up? I know you had a list the last time. So
Yes,
put you on the spot.
I didn't write down my list. One of them is Grow Your Own program. So Grow Your Own is we always push careers, but I don't know if we push teaching careers enough, which is interesting because that's what how we deliver fine quality education to your kids and my kids, right? And so Grow Your Own program will be a program to help out students who are maybe first generation, but interested in going into the teaching field. And we'll partner before in junior and senior year and have coursework, but then partner with them through college. We'll provide a mentor for them. So a veteran teacher that will pay a stipend to mentor that student throughout college. And then UCM is also looking at providing a mentor. So the kid will actually have 2 adult mentors to help them through as their first generation going through college. During summer time, we'll hire them to work in summer school and partner them with a veteran teacher. So they have some experiences with education as they go through college and above and beyond what most people would do going through college. And then if they get hired, we're looking at exploring a loan forgiveness. So again, encourage them to come back. What we're seeing nationally and in the state is a teacher shortage. We're not necessarily feeling that here. I think we're a destination district and we have low turnover. In fact, just saw a recent survey in the metro area. We had the lowest percent of teachers resign in the state in the metro area. We had a little over 3%. And I think there was many double digits there. And I'm sure pandemic had part of that. So we're very proud that we can attract and retain people. But if that trend continues, eventually that'll hit us too. So we want to be prepared ahead of time and help provide a pathway for people who are interested and support them and bring them back in. I'll tell you another thing we're excited about looking at. So within our career technical education, we've tripled the staff that reports to our director, Shannon Booth, and we have a strong partnership with the Lee Summit EDC. And we have over 260 businesses and advisory groups with us right now. And so we're trying to build more experiences early on. We've already said we'll be more than happy to double the number of kids who participate, say, in Herndon or Cass Career Centers. But convincing kids to work on their hands is harder now than ever before. But I think because kids don't have the experience of it. So we're exploring and probably will pilot this year, taking ready-made projects to maybe upper elementary schools or middle schools where they can use a drill and a hammer and screwdriver on projects on pre-cut wood and such. So I've been working with the Carpenters Union and other folks what that could look like. But just give a quick chance of kids to get their hands on something, see if that's something they enjoy or like. So we're pretty excited about that. We're also building our capacity. Soon we'll have an amped up algebra course, and then right after that, a construction geometry course. So for kids who are deciding to go more hands-on routes, learn your geometry while you actually build a doghouse or a tiny house or something like that, and learn math embedded instead of learning math just on a book wise. We can't teach just one way. And so if you talk to a construction worker, they don't know it sometimes, but they're using trigonometry sometimes, but it's embedded in what they do. And so it makes a lot of sense as they try to figure out, tension stress of a suspension bridge or whatever it might be.
I think I would have enjoyed those things because math and books did not make sense to me, but doing things made sense.
Yes.
I was fine with math and books, but I also really enjoy the hands-on part of it. So I am right there with you. That would have been an amazing experience to have when I was in that age group for sure. So
as we excuse me, as we look to this year, I'm going to go back to what you said earlier about school being more like school this year. So last year was your first year at the helm here in Lee Summit, and it was a little weird. It was not the normal school year.
Well, I mean, it started weird and then got no better the whole year.
So here, give me one kind of normalish thing that you're looking forward to having and getting to do as superintendent.
Oh, the stadium's being packed in the first weekend of football. The first Friday night of football will be just amazing. I mean, it was. I tease, and I actually got to watch probably more football last year when I went to games because there was nobody in the stands. There was nobody talking to me. So I probably saw more of the games, but it was odd to play in stadiums with 100 people, and that's it. So we're excited about packing in people at events. So yeah, I think that'll be, going to volleyball games and seeing the gym packed, or heck, as a parent, I have a child that's in a color guard in one of the high schools here, be able to go watch events instead of watch them tape an event and send a tape in for a competition. There's a lot of things as an educator and a parent we're very excited about getting back to.
The comforting feel of normal stuff. So, well, I would imagine as a superintendent, like as you come through the rise through the teaching and administrative ranks, there's a significant, I will call it social and political component to your job that you have to deal, like managing people, dealing with people, being sociable, all those sorts of things. And you probably missed it a great deal, a lot of that stuff, and probably won't miss like constant emergency meetings about whatever the virus is doing this week that we're having to deal with. So that's good.
Yes, very much so. And who'd ever knew I'd be reading JAMA articles on effectiveness of masks and things like that. Yeah, the last 2 years, or having a medical panel and going through our 30-something page return to school program, our packet. And so, yes, it's definitely been an interesting time. In a lot of ways, it's rewarding because people have rallied together and are very supportive. And so we're here to support kids, and part of that's keeping them healthy. So we're here to support staff, and part of that's keeping them healthy. So It is what it is. And we're glad that we were very successful last year, and we hope to be even more successful this year.
I would imagine a lot of that was not in your doctoral studies.
Yeah, they don't put that on the brochure.
No, my doctoral study was on finance. So.
Well, Dr. Buck, I appreciate you taking a little bit of time here. I know this is a big week as everybody's coming back into the buildings and getting set up for school, which starts the 25th.
That's right.
It's a week from today, right?
Yeah,
that's right. As we're talking, teachers' first day, so the buildings are full with adults right now.
I feel like after the long, cold year that we had last year, I feel like this summer went fast.
Hey, can I brag about one thing real quick?
Sure, absolutely.
So one of the things we were talking last year, I don't know if you know this, there's a bus driver shortage nationwide, and we felt it a little bit too. And so one of the rules we had is you had to have either a high school diploma or a GED to be a bus driver. And we kind of looked around at each other, and I said, we're a learning institution. And so why don't we hire people who are willing to work on their GED and support them doing that? So we created a program. Thank you to Andy Robertson over there at Summer Ridge Academy. So we had our first one, and we just celebrated her yesterday and provided her a cake and cheered her on. She passed her CDL, I couldn't do that part. I have a hard time driving my 3 kids in the car behind me, not get distracted. But then also got her GED and passed her GED test. So we have our first bus driver that went through that program, and I think it exemplifies our we're a learning institution, and we're here to support people. And so I'm pretty proud of her. And she made a great statement. She's like, listen, that I'm showing my kids and making an example for my own kids. And I'm pretty happy about that. So there were a lot of tears, including on me. So kudos to her and kudos to everyone who helped set that up.
That is a good story. Actually, I did just see that yesterday, and I missed my notes. I was supposed to ask you about that one. But that's a great thing. I mean, not just for her, but I think that's a good community statement, like you said, that hey, we're a part of the community. Our district is, and we can help people get to where they need to be. That's awesome.
Yes,
very much.
Well worth bragging.
Yeah, that's a brag-worthy point for sure.
Well, Dr. Buck, thanks again. I look forward to a time when we can bring you into the studio. And you can witness our absurdity firsthand
in person. So
I would enjoy that. I had another meeting, went from 8 to 9, so I appreciated jumping off another meeting and jumping in this one immediately.
Not a problem. Dr. Buck, thank you very much. That will wrap us up for this episode. We'll talk to everybody next time.
Thank you.